If you'd have told me what's about to happen today 5 years ago, I would have never believed it. I'll tell you more in the car. It's funny because right now, the electric market's basically on its arse. And here we are, jumping in bed. So let's see how it goes. I was just saying, that opening segment of the video you just watched felt main channel. I sort of default, as soon as I'm next to a car and I start speaking, I turn into this like presenter. It's really weird. Now it's on. Mate, we are living in the Jetsons. What is going on? It's so funny. I do like that. Like when you're approaching a roundabout and there's that gap where you're like, should I or shouldn't I? And you always can, because it's boom. The steering feel. Believe I never thought I would say this. Front end feels good. Right, let's just talk about the mileage a second. Right now, 96% charge capacity, which is, I mean, let's face it, it's not far off full, is currently translating to 187 miles of range. Now, one of the things that we don't have to take account of in an internal combustion engine car is the temperature. So batteries are quite dramatically affected by temperature. Now, it's not freezing up here, 7 degrees. That's actually not that cold. Now, I've put it into range. Well, that was in normal mode, so it's not like sport mode. So put it into range, it gives you an estimate of 192. I cannot go past 60 miles an hour. I mean, look, it literally says it there. Maximum 60 miles an hour on range. Lowered chassis, the ride height's perfect. Drive mode, normal. So that's the most range you're gonna get outside of range mode, which restricts you to a top speed of 60 miles an hour. So when you're on a journey trying to make ground, forget that. I'm just trying to think now, why would this be a better user experience versus, let's take the next closest platform being a Panamera, right? Because no one's buying these to save the planet. They're all buying them to save the wallet, particularly as a commercial purchase. Like if you're buying it as a company director, buying it through a company, benefit in kind is ultra low. There's still those incentives right now. If these cars are ever to reach mass adoption, I'm pretty sure the government would take those away. Yeah. They're like, oh Christ, we need to tax something quick. As a car, as an enjoyable car, why would I want this over a Panamera? I think it looks better. Although the new Panamera that we saw in Dubai, the front of that is awesome, and funnily enough, it's available with a stonking V8 and a hybrid drivetrain, which gives it over 600 newton meters of torque. No, sorry, it might be 900 newton meters of torque. Right, so this is the service station I always stop at and fill up with fuel before getting on the longer journeys. I don't think there's a charging point here. Can I get 2 flat whites, please? Future of propulsion and sustainable fuel is going to be flat whites. Thank you. No, what I do think, Gary, back there, he ran a electric Mini. He lives in town. His previous commute to work was like a 12-mile round trip. In town, great. Our problem, and this again is more specific to the way we live, is we do hundreds of miles a week and we need to be places and not be sat around charging up for 45 minutes on service stations. Thank you so much. Let's put Rolls-Royce Edinburgh in, internal sat-nav, and see what that looks like. How do you do this then? If you want to use Waze, I guess you could put in your destination here and then go back to Waze. And then every now and again you could jump back to it. Yeah. Here's the other thing. If you put that into Waze, it would come up. It would come up. Look, if we do this on Waze now, I've just typed in Rolls and it's come up. You know what I mean? It's a different thing. When was the last time you used a brand's internal sat nav? No. You just get straight to it, don't you? This is why you need Waze. Good old social sat nav, all those pins dropped right there. Sure enough, speed camera on the bridge. Now everyone's just going about their day, you know? We're not here setting lap times, we just want to make sensible progress and then boom! When we left Porsche Perth, we started with 187 miles. It's now telling me we've got 127 miles and we have not done 60 miles. I was pulling the sunglasses out then, wishful thinking, Scotland in January. This wouldn't be the first time that I've collected a car on Darren's behalf. So, this car We spec'd at Goodwood during the Festival of Speed last year, and I believe this is the first Spectre in Scotland, which is cool in itself. I didn't expect it to arrive so soon. I'm putting the first miles on this. We're literally taking it out of here, straight back up the road. But how appropriate to be collecting an electric Rolls-Royce and an electric Porsche. Genuinely never thought this day would ever happen, but here we are. Let's have a look at this. This is so surreal seeing this so early. Oh, the interior is unreal. This came about out of really interesting circumstances. So if you remember, the Goodwood Festival of Speed last year got cancelled on the Saturday, and Rolls-Royce invited us to the factory to spend the day there, do a factory tour, and it ended up with us configuring Darren's Spectre. And this is the configuration that we ended up with. The circumstances were, well, we're here now, let's just do it now. Well, we had friends. We actually had a lot of the actual design team from Rolls-Royce in the room with us, advising us on all sorts of different options and specs. Unbelievable, look at that. I believe Rolls-Royce inlay this wood at a specific angle so the grain flows. I think it's something like 55 degrees. Scotland's first Spectre, which makes it one of the UK's very early cars. And it's got the Spectre launch pack, so that includes the lamb's wool floor mats. You can't actually see it too well in here because it's dark, but the floor mats in a Rolls-Royce, it's like somebody skinned Garfield. It's the pile is deep. It's amazing. Starlight headliner, Rolls-Royce logo on all of the headrests. We've got the Spectre logo on the dash, which is now illuminated. The back of the grille on Spectre, I'm sure, has a matte finish so that the illumination of the grille isn't too imposing, because apparently when they first illuminated this grille, they had a similar sort of chrome finish that's on the fascia on the backside, and it was just this sort of glass house of light. So they ended up making the rear of these vanes satin. Obviously, one of the most iconic features of a Rolls-Royce is the floating center cap. So as these wheels turn, the Rolls-Royce logo always stays upright. It just floats. It's gorgeous. But to be able to highlight that with mandarin orange accents, hand-painted coach line here, this is considered like a sort of finishing touch for Rolls-Royce, because unlike most brands who would put their paintwork underneath the clear coat, this is, you can actually physically feel that line that is painted on top of the clear coat. I remember it like yesterday. I remember seeing the render of this car on a screen, and outside it was blowing a gale. That was the reason that the Festival of Speed was cancelled on the Saturday. It was just like a wind and rainstorm outside, and we were just inside speccing this car, and there was all sorts of folks in there, and we were just all having input on it from friends, and designers who actually designed the car themselves were in helping us spec the car. So as a spec, it's got quite an interesting story that it was literally people who designed the physical car themselves also helped us spec it. Midnight Sapphire, main color, Jubilee Silver top line, contrasting bonnet line. One of the things that I've just seen is that there is also a complementary contrasting Midnight Sapphire Coachworks line on the leading edge of the bonnet too. 23-inch wheels as standard. That probably sets the most context as to how big the car is, because the 23-inch wheels suit it. I mean, they'd be too big on an SUV, but it just sort of works. I can't believe I'm sitting in the back before I am the front. That probably tells you how enjoyable it is in the back, really. You could spend a long time in here. That is gorgeous. Absolutely stunning. The temptation to take that protective strip off. Oh yeah, these have the updated doors too, so I think you don't. Yeah, you can double tap the door handle, and it'll close itself. Crackers, isn't it? What's quite funny is the last time we saw one of these was in the Californian sunshine in Napa Valley. I mean, there's graceful and there's that, isn't there? It's just silent. Hold on a minute, I'm supposed to be in that car. You forget how big they are until you park it next to like a normal car. I'll tell you what I'm gonna do is drink this before I get in the car. Could you imagine? Oh, it's brown as well, yeah. Super tank. Mate, it's like gliding on magnets. It's like maglev car. It's unreal. Let me just share this story with you. I remember doing a piece to camera during the Spectre launch in Napa Valley, and because it was so hot I had the air conditioning on, and it wasn't until I reduced the fan speed of the air conditioning that I realized that the tire noise coming up through the chassis of the car was quieter than the air leaving the fan exits. That's how quiet this thing is. And what's really cool is there's one thing when you go on a car launch and the environment which is procured and set up for you to be this almost perfect experience. That's one thing. But when you get it out in the real world, we're on a highway outside of Edinburgh right now in the winter, and it's every bit as luxurious now as it was then. One of the things that is really impressive, this car basically weighs 3,000 kilograms. Not exactly designed for lap times. That's not the point. The point is the center of gravity is so low that it does such a good job of disguising its mass that you would have no idea that this thing is 3,000 kilograms. It shouldn't handle the way it does. Crackers, this is one of the takeaways I actually remember from the time in Napa during the launch drive. We went up this sort of tight, twisty sort of mountain pass, and it dealt with switchbacks incredibly well, particularly considering it's got such a long wheelbase. It's definitely been approached from a point of view of the person driving it. I guess there is an association with Rolls-Royce cars that they might be designed to be driven in. This is very much a driver-focused car, even down to the steering weight. And interestingly, and this is a really subtle nuance, if you get into a Phantom 8, the steering wheel in diameter is much larger. It's almost like you're commanding a ship. But the circumference, the thickness of the wheel rim itself is quite thin. And so what that has the effect of doing is you almost sort of pilot it with your fingertips, and it slows the world down, and it automatically suggests to you that this is not a car that's designed for going fast. The rim is totally different. The way it feels in the hands is different. Everything to do with feedback and steering feel. Listen, it's not a GT3, I'm not saying that, but it's probably the most driver-centric Rolls that I've driven in quite some time. No doubt one day there'll be a black badge version of this car. It could be potentially quite a serious thing because it's got a lot of power despite its mass.
I like this. This is cool.
It's cool, right?
Yeah,
it is good. It handles really well.
Yeah.
I was just saying to the camera just now that this thing disguises its mass ridiculously well.
It looks mega on the road.
It's so flat. The throttle response is mega as well. How are you finding the Taycan?
I wish it had gears.
You wish it was a V8 Panamera?
Kinda.
Yeah?
It's cool.
It is cool.
I just love the look of it. I think
Yeah.
it looked great.
On the road, it looks really good.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing's quite interesting. When I look in my rear view mirror, I don't know if you're driving a low car or I'm driving a bus.
It's quite high, yeah.
The ride height of this is big. It's really big. So are we going to try and get a shot?
Well,
The bridge is so far away.
quite a long way away. This is cool though.
Yeah, it is cool. I'm not sure, but the bridge looks really good. So if I hold the door handle, you ready? I hold it, it extends itself on its own motor. I'm gonna interact with the door some more. Also, check this out, right? This is something that you don't get on an internal combustion engine car. Condensation on your bonnet in the winter because it's normally warm. I was peering over, I was like, what is that shine? Condensation. And we found it. So this is what we've come down here for. This quiet road right up to the water's edge, and behind us is the new Queen's Ferry crossing. You can just see that sort of peachy light in the air. We've managed to find some winter sunset. This is a super beautiful spot. Here comes another electric car. I'm still kind of slapping myself that we're filming two electric cars, albeit distinctly above average electric cars. It's kind of a cool day out actually, just sort of experiencing two different sorts of cars.
Good job you didn't come up there.
This shot works, why?
It's like off-road.
Well, I saw you go left and I thought that is not for the Spectre, that's for sure. I think we found it, mate. That is it. The view. Yeah, you've really done the job on that. It's filthy.
Is it?
Oh yeah.
Well, it looks better.
It does, it looks cool. The roads are great, the people are awesome, the food's excellent, scenery's stunning. The freedom of movement is great. Like per square mile, there's just less people, less cars. Car culture's strong. We went to this car meet on the 2nd of January at the bottom of the rail bridge, which is the one at the back there. At the bottom of that, the cars that turned up were amazing. 3 new GT3 RSs, STO. It was good. It was really cool. Edinburgh as a city as well. I swear it's UK's secret city. It's like so stunning. It's safe. The people are cool. The architecture's stunning. And then not too far away, you've got this totally different feel of the more sort of, you know, gritty city and edge of Glasgow, which is awesome. And then there's loads of locks, so you can get yourself a jet ski, Yorkie. Read your mind. There's got some stunning beaches if you're into mountain biking. I mean, they've got the best mountain biking in the UK up here. If you want to ski in the winter, it's small, but there's some skiing. It's different because I think your association with the Porsche badge, you know, is sort of a bit of theatre and
this is a
engagement,
really,
and
isn't
exactly.
It?
And this is just like this effortless torque monster, you know, and it's totally silent. It suits the brand really, really well.
I love that.
Yeah,
that
is pretty
cool.
trick, isn't it? Back to work now.